Here we
I'm a single mother of my 8-year-old boy Mark. When this happened, he was 5 and I was 27. I have my own house that was passed down to me from my grandparents. It's in the quiet side of town with a lot of older people, and I still live here with Mark today. It was Christmas time.
That's
I
funny
was out with Mark shopping.
because I live around a lot of older people as well. I wasn't gonna say old, but this is like a few handfuls of like young, well, people I guess who look like they're probably closer to my age that live around me, but pretty much everyone else that I've talked to and seen, especially when I used to jog around the neighborhood, they're all like retirement age. Like, two of my neighbors on both sides of me passed away. Then somebody else moved here. She was supposed to move here with her son, but he ended up she told me he went to Vegas and got married and ended up moving there with his wife. And she was like, but she bought that house because she thought they were supposed to come. He's supposed to come, they were going to live together. But then he met somebody. And so she was old, couldn't let her. I helped her like mow her lawn a couple of times. Then she started paying somebody to do it, and I started paying somebody to do mine. So, but then the guy over here, he passed away. His wife, I don't think she's over there anymore. Because she was over there and they called the ambulance a few times. I found out that she fell. And, because I know they both he had kids from a previous marriage. And then they both have kids together. I think some of his kids were going over there like staying with her. And then I haven't seen her over there or haven't seen any lights on. Some people come over there sometimes just to check on the place. Some older people, some younger people staying. I don't know what the fuck that was about. They were younger than me. And this neighbor across from me, before this new couple, they about my age. I've talked to them. I don't remember how old they were, but the woman before them, she died. And she died over there. The neighbor, not the house over died, and now it's another old couple. This old couple just moved next to me because she moved into a smaller house somewhere else. I think in Aurora, and that's an old couple over there.
I was doing my Christmas shopping for my family.
A lot of old people around me.
Mark and I went to the mall, including a few clothing stores and a hardware store where I bought a gift for my dad.
Oh,
after all the shopping was done, I took Mark to McDonald's to get him some burgers and ice cream. Afterwards, we left the mall through the south exit, and here we bumped into a mall Santa standing outside.
He looks sus.
He waved at us and said the usual Santa stuff. He then knelt down to get to Mark's level and asked him what he wanted for Christmas.
Did you get the hell out of my
Mark
face?
led my hand closer to the Santa, and I allowed it because he seemed like a normal, nice mall Santa. Mark said he wanted a Nintendo Switch, which ironically was what I was planning on buying him for Christmas. The Santa laughed and said, "If you're good, maybe you'll get it," while looking up at me and winking.
I never got into no
Switch. And then he
Switch.
stood up and started complimenting me, saying to Mark, "Your mother's a looker, Mark, you know that?" And Mark laughed, even though he didn't know what that meant. I still smiled.
He said he was 5.
And we had a couple minutes worth of seemingly friendly adult
The music
conversation
changed.
about the holiday mayhem.
It was
and
sinister.
such. The guy said he worked for the mall. I regrettably mentioned the stress of being a single mom during Christmas is unfathomable. And then I made a joke about needing Santa's help. Then the Santa made what I
I get it. They don't know if they're religious, but you practice Christmas, whatever. Like, don't be telling people your business. You don't need to go in all that. Even if he's a mall Santa, you know, Dad, that's not really Santa. So, like, why are you telling him all your business? Even if your kid is there, don't tell him like, "Oh, I'm a single mom," and also so he like, "Oh, so you by yourself? You live by yourself? You got a boyfriend? You don't? Okay." It's like, It's like you tell them too much information. Like I know people, they feel some type of way. They start talking. They start talking about your problems and shit. But don't do that shit to strangers. Say that shit for your friends and family, because they feel like they have be obligated to listen to you.
What was an innocent joke, saying, Mark, have you ever heard the song I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus?
No, fuck
Mark shook his
off.
head yes. Then he leaned in towards me with his cheek,
He shook
like he
his
wanted
head
me to kiss
yes.
his cheek. I was going to give him an innocent little peck on the fake beard, but as I leaned in, he turned his head and tried doing that old trick where he kisses you on the lips instead.
Trying to get you
I
herpes.
moved my face away in time. The way he did it was so creepy and aggressive, too. He looked at me and started doing the Santa kind of laugh, but there was nothing jolly about it.
He just like shove his tongue. Which would be stupid because you could just bite the shit out of his tongue. But well, that's what I thought. He turned his head like a fucking like a face hugger or some shit.
I said, come on, Mark, and we started walking away. He yelled Merry Christmas, and that was the last thing I heard him say. As we drove away past the back exit of the mall, I noticed he wasn't there in front of the entrance anymore. I wish I took that into consideration as to what may have happened next. We got home, and after bringing everything inside, I locked the door. Mark and I started to watch a Christmas movie. Our wholesome time together was then interrupted. My doorbell rang.
Like a Christmas movie or a Christmas movie?
It was late for any kind of door-to-door people. I told Mark to keep watching as I went to go answer the door. I said, who is it, through the door, and a man's voice on the other side said, it's Santa. My heart dropped. I said, if you're the mall Santa, please go away, or I'm calling the cops.
Get the fuck out of here.
He replied, you dropped something out of your bag, miss. I'm just looking to return it.
Yeah, right.
I
Or but
replied,
leave it out
what did I drop? He replied, I don't know, miss. I'm not looking to be nosy, but if you open the door, I can hand it to you.
Like, just leave it outside.
I repeated myself that I wanted him to leave now. I then decided to call the mall management office of the mall to report this. But the man on the phone said they don't officially hire any mall Santas at this mall, and that whoever's dressing as Santa is doing it on their own accord. With that bit of information, I felt incredibly unsafe. I went back to be with Mark, but my mind was elsewhere now. I felt this sickly, worried feeling in my gut. I made an excuse to get up again after a few minutes. I went to the kitchen out of earshot of the TV. I raised the blinds to the kitchen window. I couldn't see anything out there, being that the kitchen light was on and it was pitch black outside. But I heard a man yelling, ho, ho, ho. He was probably out there watching me at that very moment, looking out the window. I had
This
no
dude
choice
doing
but to
too
call the
much.
police and report that I was followed by a man
You
dressed
just
as
now
Santa.
calling the police?
I told Mark to keep watching the movie, and I spoke to the police outside. They took a report and were on their way. The police having come made me feel just a little better. A few nights later, though, my doorbell rang again, around the same time, if not a little later.
This dude is ballsy.
Mark was already asleep tonight. I was in the living room watching a show. I turned off the TV and went upstairs to my room, which is connected to Mark's room. The doorbell didn't ring again, but I never went back downstairs that night. It wasn't until the next day when I was leaving the house that I found the note taped to my front door. It was typed out and printed. This is a picture of the note, and it said, I'll just be blunt. I'm sure you can guess who this is. I didn't mean to scare you the other night.
I just
had a long shift, and when a pretty lady talks to you after pretending to be Santa for 6 hours, hormones kind of go crazy. You and your son are the cutest things ever, and I'd love to one day be a part of your family. You can't pretend you didn't feel the connection when we spoke the other night.
But like I did.
I already know where you live. Now I just need your number. Feel free to shoot me a text whenever, and maybe we can plan something one day. Sorry, I know this may seem creepy or a bit much, but I'm the kind of guy where if I see something I like, I go after it. Anyway, happy holidays.
And he left his phone number.
Here's my number.
Happy holidays. Like, see, this is the type of shit that dudes will be like, oh, I just hit on her and she overreacted. Like, no, they be doing shit like this. Like, dude, you said, I'm not trying to come off creepy. You came to her house. That means you followed her. Talking about her and her son are the cutest thing. You love to be part of that family one day. Like, really? Talking about you can't pretend that you didn't feel a connection. Bitch, we met once. Well, you tried to kiss me, which she recoiled. back and then reciprocate your feelings, and you're like, oh, you must have felt it too. Like, no, I didn't. I ain't feel shit, but uncomfortable. Like, maybe we could plan something. Feel free to shoot me a text whenever, and maybe we could plan something. Like, get the fuck out of here. Hormones be rage. I just remembered, yeah, after a 6 hour shift, after 6 hour shift, dudes just be getting horny. Like, what are you talking about? And then you put your phone, which, I mean, putting your phone, I put my phone number on receipts and shit. But not after I did, I ain't do no shit like this. Like, it was at the conversation with the person. So, oh, you seem to be vibing. And so, I just leave her my phone number. She can call. She don't. It's whatever. I'm not following them, going to their fucking house, knocking on their door, telling them to open up. It's because you forgot something. Like, why are you trying to get me to open the door? You could have been like, hey, well, even though if you falter, it's still creepy. So, you already a creep. But let's just say he's trying to go in his head above and beyond. Let's just give him the benefit of the doubt for a second. You follow her, go to her house, and she actually did drop something. You outside, he's like, hey, I'm the mall Santa. I'm the mall Santa that you met. You dropped something, he's walking away. I didn't see it at first until you were gone, and then I picked it up, and I'm leaving it outside. As I know, I also acknowledge, like, I know this is creepy. I'm leaving it outside, and that's it. And if she wants to open the door, something like that, then I will walk away. She wants to open the door and talk to you. Maybe I highly doubt it since you've already followed her and know where she lives. You've made her uncomfortable. This will make me uncomfortable as a grown adult male who think I can whoop everybody's ass. I would still feel uncomfortable because you follow me home. Like, this dude said I guess the hormones be raging. Like that's an excuse. Hormones be raging, man. Be going kind of crazy. Like, what the? I know you felt it.
Best Ted. I wanted to crumple this up, but I took a picture of it, called the police again, and gave this to them. Since it had his number on it, the police could work with that. They said I'd be hearing from someone when action was taken, and that following Monday, I got a call from, I assume, a detective telling me that the man would not be contacting me anymore, and if he did, to let him know. I never heard from
beat his ass.
I assume the police threatened to arrest him if there was any further contact.
I was like, I see guys do shit like that. I'm like, how do you not imagine? Like, that's creepy. Why would you do this?
This is a short but scarring story nonetheless from my early childhood.
Think you gotta be assertive or some shit?
I grew up in an average middle class home in the suburbs. My sister and I were huge fans of Christmas as kids. I had to be like 6 years old when this happened, because we had just moved to our new house. This is one of my earliest memories in life that I remember vividly, just because of the gravity
books of VHS tapes.
On Christmas Eve, I would always have trouble sleeping, even as a young kid, just due to anticipation. I would stay up really late playing video games in my room on my old box TV. I'd play until I just fell asleep from exhaustion. This night in question, I was playing a Star Wars game for the PS1, and when I had to go to the bathroom, I turned the volume down low and quietly snuck out of my room, because I knew my mom would get mad if she heard me sneaking around on Christmas Eve night.
Games there.
I snuck to the upstairs bathroom, and when I was done, I was quietly going back to my room, when I heard the sound of the tree rustling around downstairs. My first instinct was to think, Santa. I started tiptoeing down the stairs until I got to the bottom. The sound of the rustling pine needles was louder now. I peeked around the bottom wall of the stairway into the living room. There were no lights on, except for someone holding a flashlight. I could see only the person's legs as they were bent over behind the tree. There was a black bag on the floor, and this random adult man came out from behind the tree and looked at me. He looked at me and put his pointer finger up to his mouth.
Some
He made a
music.
shushing motion with his lips. He whispered, "Yes, I'm Santa." I was old enough and smart enough to know that wasn't what the Santa I grew up knowing looked like.
I'm
I
Santa's
started
helper.
screaming for my mom and dad as loud as I could. I remember the man started freaking out, deciding whether or not to take the bag he filled with our gifts, and he ended up running away to the front door. I don't remember if he had to unlock it or if it was already unlocked or not. I just remember him leaving through the front door, and seconds later my parents running down the stairs. I'm sure I screamed there was a man in here, and them seeing the black bag on the floor filled with our would
Oh,
have
he
been
left
stolen
this.
gifts proved that. Here's where my memories started getting fuzzy, so I had to ask my parents what happened next. But my dad told me he went outside in his slippers and ran all over the place ready to kill someone. Half the ornaments on the tree were taken off and in the bag. What kind of sick,
Stole the
evil person
ornaments?
steals people's sentimental Christmas ornaments? According to
Yeah,
my
what?
dad, the method in which the man broke in was the back door, which it appeared he yanked open with a crowbar due to the chipped wood. A house a few blocks away had also fallen victim to this, and it was on the news. It was most definitely the same guy. I don't remember much from when I was 6, but this is a memory that most of it still sticks in my brain like it was only a few years ago.
They were going house to house. Like the fucking Grinch.
It was December 2020. My fiance and I bought a house together a few years ago. It's a cute house in a decent neighborhood, a nice area to raise a family. That's why what happened 2 years ago was all the more shocking and disgusting. We know all of our neighbors, both our next door neighbors and the 3 closest neighbors across the street. Everyone is friendly enough, but you truly never know the skeletons hidden in someone's closet. Our neighbor Paul
That's
to the right
true.
always seemed nice the few times we'd speak, but he never really spoke too much. I'd see him outside almost every day, either coming or leaving for, I'm assuming, work, though I never knew what he did for a living. At this time, I hadn't seen the guy in a few days, and his car hadn't moved from his driveway. Obviously, that in of itself isn't any cause for alarm. All of the neighbors, including Paul, had their lights up already. I found it interesting how Paul, a single man in his 40s, would put lights up. I actually found it kind of nice.
Maybe he just like
I was late
Christmas.
to the party putting my Christmas lights and decorations up outside one night. While doing so, I noticed Paul's Christmas lights out of nowhere started flickering.
Like I got neighbors who have like I know one neighbor. She's like a few houses down. She has all adult children. I think she's like in her 60s. The only person that lives there is her adult son, and he lives there with her and helps her out. Um, but like she puts up Christmas lights. I don't think she has. I don't ever see any grandchildren or any children. Period over there. So, and also there's another house like not just a few houses down. This way, like way down the end of the street. It's an old couple. This guy he puts his like that motherfucker. Look, I've talked to him. I don't know how old he is. I only talked to him once. But that dude, he looks like he's in his late 80s. The way he moves and stuff. I haven't seen him a little bit. I hope he's alright. But seen his wife, but I haven't seen him. But he's put his Christmas. He doesn't have anything up this year, so I guess that's kind of worrying.
like crazy. All of them, not just one strip of lights. It looked like it could have just been faulty wiring or some electrical glitch. The next day, I left for work around 10 and noticed again Paul's car was still in the driveway. I also noticed all the blinds in his house were still closed. Even when I got back from work, the blinds were all closed, but his Christmas lights were on, so he was definitely home. I joked with my fiancé that he must have been on some kind of hibernation. Later that night, my fiancé came inside and told me of Paul's Christmas lights acting up. I went outside and it was the exact same thing that was happening the night before. The flickering wasn't happening in a way that would appear that he programmed it that way. It was happening in a very spastic, glitchy sort of way. So I figured I'd be nice and go let him know, and also see if he's okay since I hadn't seen him. I knocked on the door, and when there was no answer,
It was like it's deliberate or
all the
something.
blinds were closed and I couldn't tell if the lights were on or not. When there was no answer, I rang one more time.
Is he in there
Finally,
like somebody
the door
like
opened and Paul
like beat
greeted
him?
me. I let him
Okay,
know about
never
his
mind.
flickering lights, which I just noticed weren't flickering anymore. I promised him I wasn't making it up. He said he wasn't aware of that and thanked me. I asked if he was alright, as I hadn't seen him in a while. He said he was just feeling under the weather. He was acting a bit off. Then I heard
Like he
something from
wanted you to
inside the
leave.
house. At first I thought I was imagining it, but it sounded like a child screaming for help. Paul didn't have any kids.
Oh shit,
I
this
was
dude's a
about to ask
fucking
him, "Did you
pedophile.
hear that?" But on the spot, I decided not to. I said goodbye and walked back to my house. Then I told my fiancée to call the police right now. I think Paul has a child in his house. Her reaction was literally, "What did you say?" I said, "I think Paul kidnapped a child." So I called the police and said I think I heard a child screaming inside my neighbor's house. My neighbor who doesn't have kids and hasn't been leaving his house the past week or two. I asked to keep who made the call anonymous, though I knew Paul wouldn't be so stupid as to not know it was me who made the call. Sure enough, the
I
police
don't give a
arrived and
damn if
entered his
he.
house on exigency, and when I heard what they
That was me. I wouldn't give a damn if they told him. I'm like, yeah, you had a kid in your house. Yeah, I told him. And what? You gonna come over and try to kill me? I kill you first.
found, I was appalled.
They gonna kill me. You in
There was a
jail.
young boy locked in the basement. He had been locked down there for 4 days. The boy had been kidnapped from a completely different town. As far as the flickering lights, the boy was a genius and somehow found a way from the basement to flicker the Christmas lights as an attempt to call for help and get
Oh
someone's
wow,
attention
damn
outside.
that boy.
Probably whenever he saw someone through one of the
Some
blocked off
Home
basement
Alone,
windows.
MacGyver
I
shit.
reckon he saw his chance to call for help when someone, me, was at the front door. Clearly a very smart kid with great survival instincts. I'm glad he was reunited with his family. I don't want to know what was done to him, but I hope he lives a normal life and has put this behind him. Knowing how serious of a crime child kidnapping is, Paul won't be getting out of prison anytime soon.
I'm surprised that I know the guy heard the screaming from behind him. I'm surprised he didn't like attack him or something.
I was home alone one weekend, so my girlfriend Jenny came over to spend the weekend with me. It was the middle of December, and Christmas festivities were in full swing. Jenny wanted to watch Christmas movies tonight, so we ordered food, drank wine, and sat by the Christmas tree in the living room watching Christmas movies. We started with the Polar Express, then we started watching Elf. We ran out of wine, so I decided I'd run to the liquor store down the block to get more. It would only take 10 minutes anyway. It was a Saturday night, so they were open later. The usual cashier was working, and I got stuck in a conversation with him like I always do whenever I go there. Mid-conversation with him, I felt my phone vibrating in my pocket. I checked my phone to see it was Jenny. I interrupted the cashier, saying 1 sec, and I picked up. Jenny sounded scared, saying she keeps hearing noises from below the living room. That would mean the crawl space. I told her it's fine, there's nothing down there. She asked me to stay on
How
the
would
phone
you
with her
know?
until I got back, so I did. I walked the 5-minute walk back home, and Jenny was still on the couch. She had the movie paused still, saying that she was listening for sounds. When I asked her if she heard any other sounds, she said no. She asked what if there's an animal down there. I told her that's not possible, as there's no openings from anywhere outside. I opened the wine bottle, and we
Well,
continued to watch
they
the movie.
made one.
It wasn't long after that we both heard a distinct thud type of sound from below us, from the crawl space. I looked at Jenny and she looked at me. She was right, there was something down there.
Oh, ain't nothing down
I
there.
said, oh shit, there might actually be an animal down there. Once again, we paused the movie, and I went to the closet with the attic door inside. I grabbed the flashlight on the ledge and went down into the crawl space. I stayed by the crawl space door and just did a quick scan of the place. There are a million boxes down there, so a small animal could have been hiding anywhere. It smelled like piss in there, which pretty much confirmed that there was something down there.
Boy,
I'm not an exterminator or pest control,
it's a
so there was
full-grown
nothing I
human.
could do about it. I told my parents about it in the family group chat and told my dad he'd have to call pest control tomorrow. Then, as I was climbing back up the stairs, I heard something from across the crawl space. I don't know what it was, but something moved. I got scared that some animal was going to run at me, so I hurried up the stairs and shut the door. There wasn't much else we could do now except just go back to the living room and finish watching the movie. After Elf ended, we went to my room and eventually went to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night having to pee really badly and with a throbbing headache. I got up and opened my bedroom
Damn,
door
how much
and
wine
looked
did
down
you
into
drink?
the dark hallway. At the end of the hallway, I saw a person's silhouette. I almost screamed. But instead, I closed the door quietly and locked it. I heard footsteps coming down the hallway, and then the doorknob turned, and someone tried opening the door. And then a deep, hoarse-sounding voice on the other side said, "Hello?" That was when Jenny started to scream. She had been woken up by my getting up, and she heard the voice too. I would have tried to calm her down, but I
Hello,
was scared shitless
like
myself.
you in his house.
I did hear footsteps walk away from the door, and so I called 911. Waiting for the cops felt like a millennium. All I know is when the cops got here, there was no one else in this house. Whoever it was left. The smell of piss in the crawl space wasn't my imagination. There was literally a puddle of that person's piss on the ground,
shit in the crawl
which is pretty disturbing because that would suggest that he had been down there for a while. While it was likely a homeless squatter, that didn't make it any less horrifying. My family didn't even believe it at first. I've never forgotten to lock the door ever again.
You forgot to lock a door? So he just walked in and went in a crawl space, even though there's only one way down there, and it's from the inside. That's weird. That's almost like he knew. It's almost like he knew where to go in the house to get to the crawl space. Now that's weird. But anywho, hope you enjoyed my reaction. And if you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're here. Hit that bell if you want me to find upload videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.